Justice, the MO of any good LA cop. They recognized your tenacity and promoted you to the traffic desk. Hard work pays off, but how long will the pursuit of justice be enough? Can you stay principled when all the other cops around you choose the easy way out? Can you, Cole?
Here's your new desk, kid. You're on traffic. The hot sheet is posted here, next to the map.
What's his problem?
That's Biggs. He's an institution.
So this is what all the fuss is about. Why couldn't they build a freeway that goes past my place?
They haven't even approved the money yet, kid. The bond issue won't be till December. It'll be years before any of this will happen. Here's your new partner, Stefan Burkowski.
I've heard all about you, Phelps. You go easy on me and let me earn the odd citation, and maybe we'll get along fine.
I'm here to learn, Detective.
He's an intense one, isn't he, Mel?
Who's intense?
The newly minted detective here, Cole Phelps.
Hi, Phelps. I'll be keeping an eye on you. I could spend a little time basking in reflected glory. Make a change from busting hookers and dope fiends.
Who was that, Commander?
Roy Earl, chief detective and advice.
Did they all dress like movie stars?
Well, Roy is a movie star. And the whole of the seedy side of L.A. is his audience.
What is that supposed to mean?
Stick with me, kid. You'll find out. And now some housekeeping. Warm Central Division welcome for Detective Cole Phelps. Some of you guys may know Phelps. He's the cop who broke the jewelry store murder. Stand up and take a bow, Phelps.
If it's all right with you,
That's
sir.
an order, Phelps.
Shh, quiet, everybody.
Phelps is one of only 2 serving LAPD officers who received the Silver Star during the war. Really gave it those lousy Japanese, eh, Phelps?
I did my best, Captain.
Why you war heroes always so modest? I've partnered Phelps with everybody's favorite Pole, Stefan Burkowski.
Hope you like work, kid. Bukowski sure as hell doesn't.
Well, that's why we have partners, right? Okay, can it, guys. Stick with Burkowski. He's a good cop. He knows traffic inside and out. I'm going to start you out with 1 case. You do okay, I'll give you a couple more. You screw up, you'll be rousting vagrants and running license plates. Now get down to the PE Freight Depot, 6th and Alameda. A patrolman called in a suspicious vehicle. Signs of foul play. See what you can find out. Come on, Phelps.
An abandoned car by the train tracks. That's why traffic was called. We only got to know our partner Ralph Dunn from patrol briefly before Cole was promoted to the traffic desk. Now we get to know our brand new partner, Burkowski.
They really pushed you through quick, didn't they? 6 years on patrol before I got this desk. You were here in 5 minutes.
What do you want me to say? I didn't ask for any favors. You know this place?
Sure. Near the old gasworks and Signo Depot in the warehouse district. I'll direct.
No, we'll have him drive. I'm no good at driving in these games. Plus, it gives us an opportunity to have some friendly professional banter with Steven.
So, tell me a little about yourself, Phelps.
Are we friends now, Burkowski?
We have to work together. Don't be so touchy.
I grew up in San Francisco. My father was in shipping. Went to college at Stanford. Did 2 years ROTC before Marine OCS at Camp Elliott. Shipped out in early '45 as a first lieutenant. Fought in the Okinawa campaign. I was wounded, shipped back home. Did a year on the beat. Now I'm here.
So you won the Silver Star.
I don't want to talk about it.
Now let me get this straight. You single-handedly killed 40 Japs on this hill in Okinawa.
No.
You were up there all night, draped in the flag, knife between your teeth, gun at the ready.
You finished?
The Emperor Hirohito himself leading the charge against you.
I did my part, Burkowski. What did you do?
I kept the streets of L.A. safe for the people.
Yeah. Now I get it. Unfit for service.
Now, fuck you, Phelps. I earned a bravery citation during the Zuda riots.
Sounds like you had it rough.
I did my job.
No one is saying you didn't.
I did 6 years as a patrolman.
That's the 3rd time you've told me.
Just a little friendly banter from our new partner. Let's hope serious-minded Cole Phelps doesn't take it too personally. At any rate, we arrive at the Pacific Electric Freight Depot at 11:02 a.m.
That you, Bukowski? Go on through. Parking lot straight ahead.
I need to get back to work, officer.
The detectives are here now. You repeat to them what you told me.
I did the right thing by calling this in. I'm just a working stiff.
Just give him your story and you'll be all right.
This is your first case, Phelps. It's okay to admit it if you're stumped. If you don't know what to do next, just come talk to me and we'll see what we can figure out. Thanks, Stefan. You're okay.
The Blue Boys are already here. Looks like they've even found a witness who's standing by for further questioning.
I'm Officer Hart.
Phelps, traffic. What have you got?
Abandoned car, probably stolen. The solid citizen is Nate Wilkie. He called it in.
What gives with the coroner?
There's blood all over the interior. Someone's copped a full Broderick, but no stiff as yet.
We have an owner for the car?
The car is registered to an Adrian Black, just north of Bunker Hill.
All right, we'll take a look around.
I'll keep Mr. Wilkie talking, but don't make him wait too long. He's the restless type.
But before we question this witness, let's examine the evidence. We see a man kneeling down near the passenger side door of the abandoned blue car.
Doc?
I better get back to work, sir.
Phelps, what have we got?
A lot of blood for a blunt force injury. The victim must be in a very bad way.
Any sign of the guy?
Not unless he's in the trunk of the car.
So the coroner's here, and peering inside, we see why. The dash is covered in blood.
Victim looks to have lost a lot of blood.
A whole lot of blood, but no sign of a body. The coroner did mention the trunk. Popping it open, we find 2 items. We'll examine the paper first.
Mr. F. Morgan picked up a live pig yesterday?
It's a receipt from the Riverside Slaughterhouse, written to Mr. F. Morgan. 1 live hog? $3.20. Could the blood be from a hog? But still, for a hog to have produced that much blood and have it spattered all over the front seat, what, was the hog riding up front? Strapped into the passenger seat? But there's no sign of the car getting in an accident. How do we explain this? Maybe the pig was bludgeoned to death. We find a lug wrench here, but no sign of blood on it. Well, moving around to the driver's side, we see that the Blue Boys have already marked the evidence. This is evidence marker C, and we are blown away by the sheer magnitude of blood in here. It's almost as if whatever died here exploded, sitting in this seat. We'll walk around this scene to see if we can recover more evidence. We see a marker off in the distance labeled B, and here we find the murder weapon.
Brand name might give us something to go on.
Clearly, whatever produced this blood, a human or a pig, was bludgeoned to death with this implement. But it was discarded so close to the crime scene. This must have been the work of amateurs. We find more evidence near to a telephone pole, a wallet and a pair of glasses. Opening the wallet,
32 years old, married. Sounds like an average guy. What was he doing out here?
and the name on the license is different than the name we found on the receipt. Which one was the victim and which was the suspect? On the other side, we find a photograph.
Happier times, I guess.
Happier times? Look at this lady. That doesn't look like a very happy family. It almost looks forced. Goodness, I'm getting vampire vibes out of this lady. Almost as if I turn my back, she'll sink her teeth into me. Putting the wallet down, we can examine these glasses.
Stenzel glasses. Home repaired by the look of it.
Whomever owned these glasses, Adrian presumably, repaired them with a rubber band, or is that tape? But why do we find them otherwise undamaged so far away from the car? Were these Adrian's? Inspecting the photograph again, no, he's wearing a different pair in this photograph. This pair is not repaired, so we've got two pairs of glasses to account for here. Though I suppose the glasses could have been broken after this picture was taken. That appears to be all the clues at this crime scene. We can now check in with the witness.
Sir, I'm Detective Phelps.
Name's Nate Wilkie.
You found the vehicle?
Sure. Saw it just sitting there. Strange place to be parking your car. Figured I'd better take a look. And then I saw all the blood. So I called the police.
A responsible citizen from all appearances. Presumably he was here because of his work, but we can ask him what his purpose was.
Mind if I ask what you were doing out here?
Well, I work for the railway. I was on my way out to the switch and reckoned I'd take a shortcut.
And look at that gaze. Leaning forward, fixing his eyes upon the detective. Clearly not a man who has anything to hide. He doesn't seem fidgety. He's not averting his gaze. He is not giving me any reason to doubt what he said.
Did you see anybody else in the yard? Maybe somebody hanging around the car?
Nope. I hadn't seen a soul all day till you boys turned up.
But maybe he knows something about the man who owns the car.
Do you know Adrian Black, Mr. Wilkie?
No, sir. That ain't a name I'm familiar with.
And why would he know anything about it? If his story is true, he just happened upon the scene, and he's not giving us any indication that he's lying.
You ever seen the car before?
Funny enough, I did. A couple of nights ago, it was over there in the parking lot. I know most of the cars are parked here regular, so it kind of stood out.
Oh, but the car was here before, so someone rehearsed this. If that's true, then this wasn't a crime of passion. This crime, or event, was planned. But we can't explain why the bloody pipe was placed so far from the vehicle. Maybe Nate here can clue us in.
We found a steel pipe with blood on it near the car. Do you know anything about it, Mr. Wilkie?
No, sir. I went straight for the law when I saw the car was full of blood.
So he didn't even see it. He took one glance at the blood and called the cops. And again, he's not giving us a reason to doubt his story.
When you saw the blood, was it wet, bright red, or darker like it is now?
Darker, I'd say. Looked dry already.
So if the blood was dry, whomever was murdered in this car was likely murdered the previous day. The criminal waited until night and then drove the car here to get rid of it. But then there's the wallet, which only had the license and the photo. No money. Did Nate here really call the cops first thing as soon as he saw the blood?
The wallet by the car. Was there anything in it when you arrived?
You accusing me of something, mister?
Ah, and suddenly his mannerisms change. He no longer stands confidently. He shifts around, and he no longer meets eyes with Cole. He rolls his eyes, looks around, almost as if he resented the question. Maybe he does. Maybe he thinks we're accusing him of stealing. We have no proof that he stole anything, but his behavior gives us cause to doubt his story.
Do you want the patrolman to hold you down while we turn out your pockets, Mr. Wilkie?
Maybe I checked inside that wallet. Not that I was gonna steal anything. Maybe I took a look. But there weren't no money in there. Not even change.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Wilkie. We'll contact your employer if we need anything more from you.
If you have to, I guess. I can't really spend no more time over this.
Somebody's got to inform the wife, Phelps. If you're done here, we'll head over there now.
Well, I'm not about to turn out the pockets of this guy. After all, he called this in. No need to punish a good Samaritan, and it's not like Adrian needs any money that would have been in his wallet. But we walk away with Adrian Black's address. Our next stop is to visit his home. We arrive at the Black residence at 11:12 a.m. A neat and cozy cottage with a manicured garden. Clear signs that a hard-working woman lives here.
Let's go introduce ourselves. You talk to her, Phelps. I'm no good at this shoulder-to-cry-on stuff.
Knocking on the door,
Just a minute.
we see the woman of the house rise from a nearby couch.
LAPD, Mrs. Black. May we come in? We have some bad news, and we'd rather discuss this in private.
I'm Margaret Black. We can discuss this in the living room. Please come in.
Heading inside, we meet her in the living room.
Your husband drives a blue Lincoln, Mrs. Black?
That's correct.
The car has been found abandoned, and I'm afraid there are signs of foul play.
I knew something was wrong when he didn't come home.
We believe your husband may be injured. We found a pipe on the scene with blood on it.
Oh, no! My poor Adrian!
Does the name Insta-Heat mean anything to you, ma'am?
Yes, it does. We've just had a new water heater installed.
Whereabouts, Mrs. Black?
Just outside the kitchen window, at the side of the house.
I'd like you to try and stay calm and remember everything that you can about last night. My partner and I are going to take a look around. When you're ready, we're going to have some more questions for you. Is that okay?
Of course, officer. Anything to help secure my husband's safety.
Well, let's check the place out. Come on.
Before we interview the poor woman, let's explore her home. We don't find much in her living room, though we do see 2 model airplanes on a nearby shelf, and some little models, but they don't appear to be pertinent to this case. On the fireplace mantel, we see a series of photographs. We can't interact with any of them. Heading into the dining room, we find a newspaper on the table. This newspaper opens up another part to the subplot that's been playing in the background throughout this entire story. Dr. Fontaine provides help to troubled vets.
Lie down, make yourself comfortable. So, you're a friend of Courtney's?
Yes, doctor.
He seems very concerned about you.
I have these visions. These blinding visions. I can't get them out of my head. My skull, it feels like it's in a
I'm
vice.
going to give you something to calm your nerves. I want to take you on a journey back. I want you to remember the good things about your past, occasions that made you laugh, times that made you smile.
We recall that Fontaine is a professor at a local college. In our last video, we saw a flashback where one of his students named Courtney was concerned about his friend, a vet from the war, who was struggling with PTSD. Fontaine agreed to take a look at him, and this must be the very same man, but what exactly did he inject him with? Something to calm the nerves? Is there a drug that cures PTSD? That's the only clue we find in this dining room, so moving into the kitchen, we find a branded pack of matches by an ashtray.
Kavanaugh's. So who brought this home?
Flipping open the lid.
Maybe Adrian was a patron. R&I should have an address.
We'll have to call into R&I in a bit. The sink is filled with dirty dishes. We see a few notes on the fridge that we can't read, but on the table, we find 2 items of interest. The first is a brochure for something called Instaheat, but we immediately recognize that brand name. It was the same one stamped on that bloody pipe. Instaheat, the new automatic glass-lined gas water heater. Have hot water 24 hours a day. Flipping it over to learn more, we learn more about this amazing water heater, but of note, we see a diagram for how the pipes are connected. That may come in handy later. Near to this, we find another receipt. Customer Adrian Black.
This was only recently installed, not 2 days ago.
Maybe it's time we took a look around outside.
So the water heater was installed, and Adrian paid for the pipework and plumbing. If the Instaheat pipe we found at the crime scene came from here, we should find this pipework disassembled. Now, Mrs. Black told us that it was installed just outside the kitchen window, but before we head out to inspect it, let's explore the house for more clues. Heading down the hallway, we find 2 doors to the right. One we can't open, but the one we can leads to a bedroom. A guest bedroom, perhaps? We see a dresser in the corner, and lying next to a suitcase, a train ticket to Seattle.
A used ticket to Seattle and a suitcase gone missing. Someone couldn't wait to get out of this house.
But it's an old train ticket, already with a Seattle stamp on December 3rd. Mr. Black must have recently returned from Seattle. But then that means this must be his bedroom. But he's sleeping in a twin bed. Where does his wife sleep? On the dresser, we find 2 items of interest. One is a framed photograph of Mr. Black? Why would he have a photograph of himself? Inspecting further, we can take out the back, where we find a note.
To my Adrian. This thing gets more and more interesting.
Lovesick and lonely without you? Hurry back, my darling Nicole. Kiss, kiss. Oh dear. He has a lover in Seattle. This is motive for murder if ever we found one. But does Mrs. Black know about this? Pretty bold of Mr. Black to have such damning evidence sitting on his dresser in his bedroom. Next to this, we find a glasses case.
This must be Adrian's.
Inspecting it,
Stenzel. So the glasses are a match.
so this case is empty, and it matches the broken pair we found at the crime scene. But they don't match the ones we saw in the photograph, so he must have another pair. Presumably this pair is on him wherever he is, but why would we find the old pair at the crime scene? On his bedside nightstand, we find another pack of matches, and this one is also from Kavanaugh's. This tells us that Mr. Black, not Mrs. Black, is the likely patron of the bar. Sounds like we have a trip to a nearby bar in our future. Heading out of this room and going down the hallway, we find the master suite. Here is a double bed. But why isn't Mr. Black sleeping with his wife? On the dresser, we find another photo.
Separate bedrooms, separate pictures. What gives here?
We can explain why Adrian has a photo of himself in his bedroom. It was a gift from his mistress, but we can't explain why his wife has a photo of herself. We don't find a clue on the back of this one. I don't know anyone that keeps a framed photograph of themselves on their dresser. Odd behavior. But this room doesn't give up any more clues. It's about time that we head outside to see if we can find this Insta-Heat water heater system. Now, the wife told us that it was on the other side of the building near to the kitchen window. And sure enough, as we approach...
No use leaving the thing half-finished.
We find it disassembled, just as we predicted. Mr. Black paid to put this thing together. Why then would he take it apart? Or maybe his wife took it apart. To verify that a piece is missing, we can try to put this back together. We could use the diagram that we saw on the back of the brochure, but let's see if we can do this by memory. Let's try this short one. I think I know where that one goes. Yeah, that's easy enough. And the last one. Where does this...
That can't be right.
Nope. But we can try the other side. Bingo.
So the pipe missing from Mr. Black's heater is the same one that killed him. Huh. Seems like the assailant is a little closer to home.
We now have hard evidence that the murder weapon came from this very water heater. Someone living in this home took the pipe and bloodied it. But who took it? Mr. Black or his wife? The wife has clear motive for wanting to kill her husband, but is she even capable of murder? We must now interview her to find out. But on our way, we pass a phone. We can take the opportunity to get the address of the Kavanaugh bar.
Operator, message for KGPL.
Putting you through now.
Phelps, badge 1247.
How could I help, Detective?
I need an address on a Kavanaugh's bar.
Certainly, Detective. One moment. Kavanaugh's Bar, corner of Aliso and Hewitt, south side of Union Station.
Thanks.
After adding that location to our notebook, we can sit down for the interview.
I'm all right now, detectives.
We'll start by asking Margaret if she knows anything about the slaughterhouse receipt we found in the trunk.
We found a receipt in the trunk of your husband's car for a live pig. This receipt was made out to an F. Morgan.
A pig? Adrian runs a tool business. That would be Frank Morgan. God knows what he's up to.
So she knows who F. Morgan was, Frank Morgan, a co-worker of Adrian's, but she has no idea why they would have a pig. At least, none that she's willing to talk about. But is she lying? The woman we see before us looks more worried than anything else. She's not avoiding eye contact, not fidgeting more than usual. She does seem preoccupied, but this could be over her missing husband. It reads more like worry than anything else. I don't get the impression that she's lying.
What makes you say that about Morgan, ma'am?
He's the foreman at my husband's plant. A very shady character. I've told Adrian he needs to keep his distance from the staff. They're always out drinking together.
So he's a shady character and a drinking buddy. Well, this brings us to the bar. Perhaps she can tell us more.
Your husband frequents Kavanaugh's bar?
How did you know that? Adrian practically lives there after work.
so he chooses to go off drinking with the lads instead of spending time with his wife after work. There is clearly some sort of marital rift here, hence the 2 different bedrooms. She seemed a little upset having to tell us this. Not like she was telling us this to cover for her husband. We have no reason to suspect that she's lying.
So Adrian spends a lot of time there?
Up until recently, he's been away in Seattle a lot on business.
Well, she's telling the truth about Seattle. We found the train ticket in his dresser. But why would he need to go to Seattle on business? He runs a tool company, and his employees are all here. What would require his personal attention in Seattle? Well, other than Nicole, Margaret appears to be worried about him, but maybe she knows more about where he might be than she's letting on.
Did your husband tell you where he was going last night?
All he said was he was going to meet Frank for a drink.
Again with Frank in the bar. And this woman is as consistent as the sun. No nervous shifting, giving us no impression that she's lying.
So nothing out of the usual then?
Well, he came home early from work. He never comes home early. And he went out early, too. He normally never leaves for the bar till about 7.
Oh, that's unusual. So something that he and Frank were doing together was taking up more of his time. Maybe he needed time to plan some sort of scheme. Now we must ask Margaret an awkward question. Surely she has seen the photograph Adrian keeps in his bedroom, but has she read the back?
Tell us about the photo of Adrian in the bedroom.
What is there to tell? It's from his most recent business trip to Seattle.
Uh-oh. She's good. She only gave it away briefly, right after answering the question. She looked off to the right, but then she returned her gaze to Cole Phelps.
It's from his most recent business trip to Seattle.
This tells us that she is primarily overcome with worry about her husband, but that she does know a bit more than she's letting on. I think she knows about the message on the back of the picture, but she's too embarrassed to talk about it.
There's plenty to tell. You just won't tell it. You're lying about the photograph, Mrs. Black.
You're incredibly rude and insensitive. But I guess you know that. I've told you what I know about the picture.
To get her to open up, we can tell her that we already know all about Nicole.
What about Nicole, Mrs. Black? Was your husband going to leave you for her?
I've seen the photo frame. He thinks I'm stupid. But women sense these things. I don't know if he intended to leave me or if it was just a fling. God only knows. I only want to know that he's safe.
Oh, this poor woman. She knows all about her husband's infidelity, but she's too timid to confront him about it. But now we need to solve this glasses mystery.
Was your husband wearing his glasses when he left here yesterday?
Yes, he just bought a new pair.
Ah, that explains it. It explains why the glasses in the recent photograph of him on his dresser were a different pair, and why he felt comfortable leaving his broken pair behind. He had a spare. Her story here matches the evidence we have. No need to think she's lying.
Go on.
I kept telling him to throw those old ones away. He tried to repair them with tape. They looked terrible.
All we need now is to know exactly what Margaret was doing on the night of her husband's disappearance.
I think you should come clean with us, Mrs. Black. Your husband is missing, and after our search, I'm willing to call the circumstances suspicious. Can you account for your movements last night?
You're not accusing me, are you? What an awful thing to say. I was here all night, of course, waiting for Adrian to come home.
Does the story match with the character of Mrs. Black as we've come to understand her? Well, she's too timid to confront her husband about the infidelity she knows about. Would that kind of woman murder her husband? Likely not. Is she the kind of woman who would wait here quietly for her inattentive husband to come home from the bar? Yes. She sits here a woman overcome with concern. She's telling the truth.
Is there anyone who can vouch for that?
Well, no. I was here alone. I cooked Adrian's dinner and waited, but he never came home.
We'll keep you informed, Mrs. Black.
Please do, Detective.
She has no alibi, but we have no reason to suspect that she's a murderer. After all, we found 2 sets of dishes from last night's dinner in the sink. Now, we need to head to the Kavanaugh bar to see if we can find any trace of Adrian.
Jesus, I'm glad to be out of there.
Mr. and Mrs. Black don't seem to have the happiest home life.
He's too scared to divorce her, and she's too much of a shrinking violet to throw him out. If this hadn't happened, they could have stayed miserable together forever.
You think she could have killed him?
She sure as hell doesn't seem the type, but stranger things have happened.
We arrive at 11:33 a.m., and despite the early hours, the bar is bustling with patrons.
Hey, I know you.
No, you don't.
Heading inside, we find the bartender behind the bar.
You looking for someone? I can't.
You know Frank Morgan?
Sure. Frank's your regular. He's a loner in the back.
Oh, he's here. This early? Well, that's a stroke of luck. See, we see a few people in there. Is it this old guy?
Frank Morgan?
Who's asking?
Ah, this fellow.
God damn it all, I asked them to hold the mayo.
Cole Phelps, LAPD. I understand you're a friend of Adrian Black.
Yeah, I know him.
Are you aware that he's missing?
No, I hadn't heard that. Tough break.
Oh, he's not being very subtle. We can ask this fellow if he knows anything about the abandoned vehicle filled with blood.
We found Black's car abandoned in a freight depot, covered in blood. You know anything about that, Morgan?
Hell no. I'm sorry to hear that. I like Adrian. He's a good boss.
Please, don't tell me you actually believe this jerk-off, Phelps.
And whoever they got to do this guy's facial expressions should receive a medal. This is the most hilarious example of a lying face if I ever saw one. But we don't have to rely upon his facial expressions. After all, we have evidence that at one time he was in Adrian's car.
You're lying, Morgan. You were there.
And you're talking out your ass, Detective. How about you prove I was out at that rail yard?
Easy enough. We can simply point to the receipt of purchase of a live hog that we found in the trunk.
You were there, Morgan. We found a receipt in the trunk of the car. It has your name on it. We can call the slaughter yard and nail you on it.
All right already. That fool Adrian's fallen for some dame in Seattle. He wanted me to make it look like he'd been attacked.
So the whole thing was a scheme. Adrian called his buddy Frank, and together they bought a live hog and bludgeoned it to death with the Insta-Heat pipe, and then painted the inside of the car with its blood. That's why it was dry. It was painted on the night before, and that's why they left the pipe. They wanted it to look like a murder. Now we just need to know if Frank knows where Adrian is hiding.
Where exactly is Black holed up?
No idea. I think he took off for Seattle.
Oh, do you? Well, I wish I would have thought of that. It's interesting how his demeanor changes here. It almost looks like he's playing poker. He is hiding something. He has a secret, a winning hand, that he doesn't want us to know about. He's making eye contact, but he doesn't look comfortable. He's blinking far too often, and then every now and then looks down before looking back up. And he's keeping his cards concealed in his lap. We don't have any evidence that he's lying, but his behavior causes us to doubt his story.
I'm tired of your shtick, Morgan. Spill it! Or we take you out in the alley and we knock it out of you.
He's holed up at my place. He's waiting for some money to come through before he blows town.
An address?
It's an apartment house at the corner of Temple and Figueroa. Apartment number 2.
I think that's all. Thanks for your help, Morgan. We appreciate it.
Hey, I'm just glad I could help. I love cops.
Cuff him, let him go. It's up to you, Phelps. There's no way I'm writing this idiot up.
At this point, we could arrest him, but I don't think it's worth my time. The real criminal here is Adrian. Frank was just trying to help his friend, and it's not like he hurt anyone. Sure, he lied to the police, may have been wasting our time, but we have bigger fish to fry. Now, even if we failed in our interrogation, we still discover the location of Frank's apartment. Shortly after this interview, Frank leaves the bar and we can tail him to the apartment. But since we got the address from him, we can instead drive there. As soon as we hop in the car, we get a message over the police radio.
Car 11K, come in. KGPL calling
11K, go ahead.
Message from Technical Services. Blood found in the abandoned Lincoln at the PE Freight Depot is not human. Repeat, not human. Compositional analysis reveals swine as the most likely match.
Roger, KGPL. Time to reel this guy in, Phelps.
And this confirms what we already know. We arrive at Morgan's apartment a few minutes later at 11:41 a.m.
Well, let's check the place out. Come on.
We got the apartment number from Frank. We can take a look at the mailboxes to verify.
Apartment 2.
Heading up the stairs, we see apartments 1 and 4 to the left and 5 and 6 to the right. Turning left, we pass apartment 1 to the right, and we find number 2 to the left.
Help you, gentlemen? LAPD detectives, Mr. Black. You're under arrest.
Look, I'm really sorry about this. I never tried to hurt anyone. I just needed to get away from LA. I won't put up a struggle. Just let me get my things.
Oh, sure. Nice and easy. I like that. Got it.
I knew it! Phelps, go after him. I'll try and head him off in the car. Remember, the gun is the last resort.
Don't worry. We have no intention of shooting this guy.
There's no point running, Adrian.
But holy heck, what is this guy, an athlete? How are all the pudgy ones able to jump from rooftop to rooftop?
Mr. Black, get back here right now.
Oops, I totally butchered this pipe. I should have slid down it.
Stop right there, Adrian.
And then I went back up. Clumsy me. But thankfully, our partner cut off his escape with the car.
Why not just come clean with her, Black? Why the melodrama?
I thought it would be easier.
No, it just got a whole lot harder. Adrian Black, you're under arrest for conspiracy and fraud. We'll see what the DA has to say about wasting police resources on a wild goose chase like this.
You're gonna lose your wife, lose your job, and probably end up in the big house. I hope she was worth it, Adrian.
And as is the nature of such things, the lie ended up costing Adrian more than the truth. Back at the station.
That turned out to be quite some case, huh? Adrian, what an idiot. You got an arrest and a clearance in your first case, and in fine style, too. Well done, detective. Efficient investigation technique, good public presence. You keep that up and you learn from Bukowski here, and you could go a long way in this department.
And with that, we solve the case, the driver's seat. But there are many more traffic cases for Cole Phelps to solve, and each one is more interesting than the last. They'll put our detective minds and Cole Phelps' very character to the test. If you want to find out what happens in the next case, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. As I said in my first episode, this is a slow series. I'm not going to have a new case for you every single week, but slowly over time, I'll get through the entire game and we'll solve each mystery case by case. And I hope to see you there. I have a t-shirt shop with a bunch of unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My shirts come in a variety of both men's and women's sizes and in a wide array of colors. The designs also come on other products, smartphone cases, pillows, posters, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so grateful that you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon this week with a brand new video.